At the end of my life, I already know that it won't be about accomplishments. It'll be about connections. I help people tell their life stories on stage. You can form a community where the bonds will last a lifetime if you come together and honestly share and empathetically receive each other's stories. It will change your life. I think that why community and reaching out and pulling others in is so important to me is that it's in some ways the antithesis of what some of my childhood felt like. We were all floating on different icebergs. I felt in some ways very alone. Bringing people together alleviates that ancient feeling that I had. For me, it's one of the most amazing things in the world is connecting with other people. I've learned from the amount of stories that I've heard and my own life that it's by leaping that you find out who you are. And it's only by putting myself into a new situation that you start to grow new aspects of yourself and learn about yourself. I think that when you empty your heart and someone bears witness to that, it's not just listening. It is love, because what else could you call it? You're accepting into the space, you're accepting into yourself what has come out of this and what is part of this human being. So love maybe is the ultimate acceptance. Welcome to season 4 of Drag Heels. Over the next 4 weeks, we are going to go deep sea diving into your souls to pull up stories that you're going to transform into a one-person show. The instruction manual for life is other people's stories. And so by sharing your story, it's almost a prescription for courage. Many people suffer, many people struggle. What you're normally seeing of other human beings is the tip of the iceberg. And even that with social media, the tip is filtered. But in truth, the iceberg underneath are the losses that we've gone through, the things we've let go of, the things we've overcome. And that's what we're looking for as the raw material to transform with the help of storytelling and the amazing power and glitter of drag to create something incredibly entertaining. So, are you in? Yeah. A lot of my career has been about, let's take the spotlight off the mainstream that we all know a lot about and shine it into the corners that haven't had the focus. If we can give people who've been on the fringes or in minorities some killer storytelling skills, we equip them with a method of educating in an entertaining way, or at least revealing and showing what their experience is like. So this first exercise is designed to help you get to know each other, but not in a traditional kind of way. One at a time, you're gonna get into the magic chair and you're gonna look straight ahead and just say your name and your pronouns. And we're gonna do 60 seconds of what's called good gossip behind your back. So these are true compliments, positive things that we picked up about the person. And your only job when your back is to us is to write down every word. Callen, do you mind going first?
Yeah, for
you
sure.
Brave soul.
Yeah. My name is Callen and my pronouns are they, them.
They have such a fantastic spirit.
They seem like they love to listen, like they want to know about you first.
My name is Anthony, and my pronouns are he, him.
He's got such an inviting energy and smile especially.
Yes, absolutely. Just a beautiful, open face.
My name is Isaiah, and I use he, they pronouns.
I feel like Isaiah has such a protective presence. I feel very comfortable already.
I look forward to building a sisterhood because I feel like this would be my sister in drag.
I'm Dev, and I use they, them pronouns.
They know what they're talking about, they know how they got there, and they know how to help other people accomplish their dreams too.
Even though there's all this confidence and knowledge, it's all kind of kept under lock and key. Like, they don't want to reveal everything yet because they don't need to. I'm Jericho. My pronouns are any, he, she, they.
Calm, cool, and collected.
Instantly brings like a very upbeat energy to the room. Mentioned that like sunshine is part of their drag name, and I think that that was like so clear right away.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Yay! So Jericho, come join us and let's have a little bit of a debrief. And the whole point of this process is for me to provide a space where you can just get as huge or as tiny as you want or need to be. Overall, what was that experience like for you?
I don't always hear the nice things about me. It's nice to hear some positivity be important to me.
It's refreshing when we meet new people who are seeing us for the first time in a very fresh lens, and they're able to see all of these things that maybe we've kind of forgotten about ourselves.
Sometimes you don't realize that people notice things, and you're like, oh, what? Me? No. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like sometimes we don't know the things that we travel with, right? And the things that people pick up on.
I really like getting notes, but getting compliments I do not like. It makes me like very nervous and uncomfortable. Hearing just what people who you've known for a couple hours kind of just say offhand was, I don't know, really, really touching and really heartwarming.
I felt very seen. I try to put myself out there and let that happen, but it's still scary every time I do it, but it felt affirming.
Listening to all of you, it's almost like you saw the ideal self of the person or all the work that that person has been doing. You were able to take that in and reflect it back to them. And there's really no better gift than that kind of loving mirror.
I couldn't care less what you think about me. I couldn't care less what you think about me.
Thank you for getting up so early this morning.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
In the pitch dark in the middle of the woods.
Almost. It's really hard for me to be as excited about the morning as Tracy is.
With the headlamps, we did okay.
I've got to wear one of those in Toronto.
I think headlamps should be provided by the government for everyone.
I think we should be born with a light in our forehead.
A third eye that just sort of lights up and in
Yeah.
the forest and where you need it.
Most kids don't want their parents as a friend necessarily, but for me, it came easier to be a friend.
I sometimes feel with my mom that we share a brain. We make the same kind of jokes, and if we get going and we're sitting in synagogue, we're screwed. She's a brilliant musician. She used to be a headliner in nightclubs. And she, you know, she will come with me wherever I go. I'm living now in my 5th province in Canada. And every time I say, Mom, you wanna come visit? I'll bring you. And she says, yep. And she packs a bag and brings her ukulele. So there's always music and there's always laughter. And I just think she's the best.
Okay, for swinging land. Here we go.
I talk a lot in my class about like roots and wings. The more we know and understand our roots, the bigger our wings can be, the more we can fly with that knowledge of who we are. And I was wondering, when our family first came to Canada, if you have any stories or anything about that.
I wish I did.
Okay.
But my grandparents didn't talk to me about it. And I think it was painful for them to talk about it because the history is that they were persecuted and they came for freedom to Canada.
Right.
My booby would take me and we would go to the movies. And so we're sitting on the streetcar and I'm an excited kid, I guess. And I was like, oh, look at that. And then I was pointing out at things and, you know, and she goes, shh, shh, don't draw attention. No, people don't have to see us. And I thought, I didn't do anything wrong, you know? And I think I understood, though, that from her past and her childhood, you didn't bring attention to yourself because it meant that you were in danger if you did.
It's so fascinating to pull that thread back, and then they may not tell you the stories, but listen for what they teach the children and the grandchildren because it comes from what they survived or how they survived. And it's really interesting for me personally to hear that story about you being shushed and don't draw too much attention. And I'm making the connection right now that I've dedicated my work and my life to helping people have a voice, right?
Yeah. Wow. So how many generations did it take? Although I told stories, but I told other people's stories as an actor, you know?
That's
it
right.
wasn't my own voice.
And you have told your own story in some of my classes, actually.
Very much so.
Yeah.
More so than at any time in my life.
Really?
Yeah, because I felt a safety and a freedom to do it.
Wow, that means a lot to me.
The crafting of personal story has become even more important. I think Tracy was ahead of the curve in so many ways. She is. She seems to be tapped into the zeitgeist of what is needed for people on a human level. I don't know how that happens. That's my kid.
I discovered you can invent your own calling, and often within that calling will be the medicine that you need. I want to be careful not to always be facilitating and holding space for others. I want to make sure that I push myself to share. I feel like I need to step into the circle with my stories more. When I was 6 years old, I visited my father when he was in jail. When I was an adult, my father took his own life. You come out of it with two main things. And one is the worst thing I can imagine happened, and I'm still here. And the other is a certain type of compassion that I have now that comes not from guessing how someone might feel, but from having been there. I think it's given me an ability to sit with people who've been through really shocking, overwhelming things, and to not only stay in the room and not bolt or shut down, but to keep breathing with them and whatever they're feeling and stay with them in that. And sometimes you don't have to say a word. You lighten someone's burden when you deeply listen to them as they tell a story like that. We're going to transition to a bit more of personal storytelling. I would like you to think right now about a pivotal moment in your life. And what I mean by pivotal moment is that it's something that either you know changed you or you know changed the direction of your life. I'm going to start implementing a couple of storytelling tools to help you imagine yourself as a tour guide on a bus. You don't want to say, well, over there was where I had my divorce. Coming up on your left is where my father ended his life. Oh, yeah, and right over there is where I lost my best friend. Does anyone need snacks? Get off the bus. There are very concrete tools that you can use to get off the bus. Tell the story in the present tense, using a thick description when you tell stories. So how many of the senses can you activate? And what was going on in the inner world? So then the audience understands not just what we're seeing and hearing, but how it was affecting you, and how in turn, they're almost like a body double of you. They're gonna feel what you feel as long as you are explaining it well.
For my birthday, myself and my roommate are going to see a drag show, which is very exciting. And so I'm in this club, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I check my phone, and I have a missed call from one of my best friends. And so I go to the bathroom, and I call her back, and I leave her a voicemail that I will later regret, where I'm joking around, I'm saying, don't worry, I'm at a club, I'm having so much fun, best night of my life. And then I head back out, I'm continuing to have fun, and then I check my phone again, and I have 3 more missed calls from her. I'm starting to think, this could be something a little bit more serious. So I head outside, my roommate's still in the bar, and I take the call on the steps outside, and she proceeds to tell me that our best friend is dead. And she has passed away extremely suddenly and unexpectedly and violently. I think that this is some sort of awful prank, that there's no way that this can be real. There's no way that this is real life. These kinds of things you hear about in movies and true crime podcasts. And I'm panicking, and the internal anxiety is spiraling, and I'm holding back tears, and I don't quite know if this is real or if this is a nightmare. And I get inside and I grab my roommate, and those are the first times that I say the words of what had happened. And my roommate grabs me and says, okay, we're leaving, I'm calling an Uber. And I get home, and our friend group who has had this loss all get on a Zoom call. We're all across the world in different time zones. We're all trying to be there for each other. I've never had a moment quite like that before where I knew the second it happened, I will measure my life in before and after. It really shifted my perspective on a lot of things, and it's really shifted the way that I live my life every day.
Oh, Callen, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
In a similar fashion, recently something like that happened, maybe like 2 months ago. So like hearing the story it's a lot. Thank you for sharing so much. It's a hard thing to do.
Thank you.
The term resonates. You know, when you say that resonates with me, when you play a certain note on a violin, if there's another violin close by, that note starts to vibrate on the other violin. And it's exactly the same with humans. So Callen played a certain note, and any of us that have received sudden shocking news of a loss of someone we love, it starts to vibrate and resonate. And when a story is told well, even if you haven't had that experience, it vibrates inside because you can understand a little bit what it might be like. It takes time for people to feel safe to let things out. But then once they do, they're lighter, and then they can use it as material. They can turn it into art.
I was in a very dark space mentally. Your mom will now let you know that you're overstaying your welcome. In that, you have a conversation with her and you let her know you're a great mother, but you're not a good person. You get a phone call from a police officer that says that you're not allowed to return home. So what do you do? Where do you go? And you have no choice but to trek yourself to a homeless shelter where you observe and you look around and you start thinking, what am I doing here? You stay there for 2 years and you try to get your life together and you try to find some stability, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job of that now.
Storytelling is our Trojan horse, because when you take the time to listen and hear somebody's story, it humanizes them. And the only way we as humans can do harm to other people is when we dehumanize them. But storytelling brings them to life, and it's much harder to other people whose stories we've heard.
I couldn't care less what you think about me. I couldn't care less what you think about me.
We're gonna do our first writing exercise. So in this exercise, I'd like you to think about, right now, something that someone said that you have always remembered. So you're gonna write about what led up to that moment when that person said that thing, or you got that text, or you got that phone call. What was it like, and then what happened after? Every time you write something for the first time, it's a rough first draft. We can always fix a draft. We cannot fix a blank page. Be as honest as you can.
It's been 6 months since I made the decision to dedicate myself to my drag. The brisk air against my face and the voice of a stranger bring me back down to earth. I turn and face the voice. I just wanted to say, I'm your biggest fan. I came out tonight just to see you perform. Underneath the pounds of makeup on my face, I blush. They don't know how much their words have meant to me. Maybe this all means something to at least one person. Maybe everything I've been putting myself through is worth it. I think I'll be back next weekend.
I thought about every time those words were uttered. These names that have said, I love you, blur, and so does my vision. Then I wake up here on a different planet, or maybe the depths of the ocean, where the words invoke nothing but the feeling of water filling my lungs, and I can't swim to the top. I don't know how.
I wrote an open letter concerning my sexuality. My first ever bully, a female cousin, who would have discussed my open letter with other family members, would also fail to mention that she would be the first person that dressed me up in girls' clothing, or that her brother, my male cousin, would like to explore sexually with me when we were kids. I remember the feeling of rage taking over my body and how hot my blood felt as it traveled from my head to my toes. So naturally, I picked an argument with her, asking her why she felt it was appropriate to discuss my business.
I felt as if the room were silent for just a brief moment in this chaos. It felt like a whole change of value for me. A rising tide raises all ships.
I am about 18 years old. I'm sitting on the floor at my grandparents' house. The beige carpet is as soft as ever. My grandfather is sitting in his brown velvet love seat in the corner. That's his spot. He's the only one who gets to sit there. It has his magnifying glass so he can do his crossword puzzles. He's sick again, or still. I'm not even sure at this point. It feels like he's been sick forever. I am so scared of losing him. He's my favorite person in the world, but he's living on borrowed time. He was supposed to be dead by 70, and now he's 83. He seems tired, but as I talk about school and the grades I just got on my report card, he says, "I'm proud of you, Scallywag." That's his nickname for me. I know there are only so many more times I'll hear him say, "I'm so proud of you." And then, as if he can read my mind, he says, "You know, I'm always gonna be here cheering you on." I laugh. I know, I say. He smiles a little, even with his eyes barely able to stay open. And he says, "Even long after I'm gone, I'll be here. And if you ever feel like giving up, just turn around and know that I'm right behind you, kicking you in the pants to keep going." Something about him saying this is comforting. I feel a tear form, but it's not out of sadness. I feel connected and grounded and proud. I know that when he's gone, my body will collapse. I'll miss him so fiercely. I'll miss messing up his hair and pinching his cheeks and telling him about the books I'm reading. But I can also feel the parts of him that he's passed on to me. I can feel them growing into parts of my identity. So now whenever I miss him, whenever life feels too hard, or whenever I feel like I'm missing a piece of myself, I look back and thank him for the kick in the pants. And I feel so grateful to know that no matter what choices I make, I always have someone rooting for my team.
What I'd love you to think about right now is, what was your biggest takeaway from today?
This is all like a learning process. The best part about it is that it felt very safe to learn. It felt like I was allowed to grow, and I feel like I did, even though it's just been a couple hours.
I think my biggest takeaway today was learning what you had said earlier about your first thought usually being your best thought.
I tend to, when I'm jumping into storytelling, add humor as like a protection or like a defense mechanism of like, if I'm telling it through a silly lens, I don't have to deal with what the feeling actually is. But I found today that in the moments where I was describing feelings and describing like the impact it had as like an embodied experience were the moments that I felt the most grounded in the way I was telling it. So that was really eye-opening, that I don't have to rely on jokes.
Put the humor aside for a moment to go for the gold, go for the raw stuff, and then always bringing it back in. Because humor plus guts is a 1-2 punch. If I had a superpower, I think it would be listening. And I mean like full body, listening with everything I've got, like my guts, my heart, my detector, my intuition. That's what helps me dance with people and pull the story out.
She makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. She's there with you completely. Trust is the most important thing, and Tracy establishes it with people that she's with by being herself, her authenticity. So you set the stage by mirroring what you want from people, and she does that. And then they're much more comfortable following suit.
Vulnerability allows. If I can bring my full humanity to the process, then they can expand towards me. And I have watched every single person that's been on this show push through a personal barrier. Stand up face to face, and I can see it in their eyes. They're like, I'm scared, and they kept going. And the reward was they got bigger. The reward was they created a show. They created a one-person show about their lives with music and costume and makeup, a one-person extravaganza celebrating what they've been through and who they've become because of it. What an honor and journey of a lifetime it's been.
Ain't she sweet? That's my kid. See her walking down the street. Now ask you very confidentially, ain't she sweet? Ain't she nice? Look her over once once or twice. Now I ask you very confidentially, ain't she nice? Oh me, oh my. Ain't that perfection? Just cast an eye in her direction. I really mean it now. I repeat, don't you think she's kinda neat? That's my kid. I ask you very confidential. Big finish. Hey.